Jeep Avenger is one of the most anticipated new cars to arrive in Ireland this year. It's already an award winner. It's won European Car of the Year. It is, of course, Jeep's new compact crossover, and it's also their first ever electric model. Now, it's priced from about €36,000, rising all the way up to about €42,000. It uses a 54 kilowatt hour battery with a range of up to about 400 kilometres. It goes up against rivals like the Opel Mokka, the Peugeot 2008, the Ford Puma, the Toyota Yaris Cross and the Hyundai Kona. There's lots of rivals for this car. So how does this new Jeep compare against them all? Is it practical? Is it good to drive? Is it efficient? Well, that's what I'm going to try and find out in this video. I'm Caroline Kidd and you're watching the Carzone YouTube channel. If you're looking for a new or used Jeep from trusted sellers, then head over to Carzone.ie, Ireland's trusted motoring marketplace. Before we get into the rest of this video, please click subscribe to stay up to date with all our latest videos, and please give this video a like as well. Jeep is of course famous for making very tough off-road vehicles like the Jeep Wrangler. Now this is front-wheel drive only, but I think Jeep has done a good job to make this look like a tough little crossover, and it certainly stands out in the segment as something a little bit more authentic than the rest. So it's got those classic Jeep design cues like the 7-slot grille, and Jeep also call this functional design. So there's loads of cladding and protection on this car to keep it safe in the urban jungle. For example, these headlamps are also recessed a little bit as well, so to protect those from little parking dings and scrapes. This one has the camo pack, so you've got this little bit of vinyl here on the bonnet, and that's a classic Jeep design cue. You'll see that on larger Jeeps like the Compass. The Avenger is built on the same underpinnings as the Peugeot 2008, the Opel Mokka, but it is very distinct. They've certainly done a good job at making it into the small Jeep of your dreams. So you've got lots of those classic Jeep design cues, like the squared off wheel arches with the cladding. There's short overhangs front and rear, and it also has the most ground clearance of a lot of its competitors at about 200 millimeters. So it's probably more suited to a little bit of mild off-roading than most of its competitors. There's camo effect around those wing mirrors, and you've got this cladding here on the lower sill with Jeep engraved in that. There's 3 trim levels: longitude, altitude and summit, and alloy wheel sizes vary from about 16 inch up to 18 inch. Now this one is sitting on 18 inch diamond cut. The rear door handles are just slightly hidden here as well. But it's just got that real classic Jeep look. It's very cool. There's a classic Jeep X-shaped lighting signature in those rear lights, and there's more cladding and a skid plate as well. When it comes to practicality, the altitude models get a powered tailgate as standard and the Summit, and you've got 355 litres. Now that is about average for the class. Some have more boot space, but it's still a good shape, and there's also a little bit of underfloor storage where you can stow away your charging cables, and of course you can also let down the rear seats. So those doors open reasonably wide for a small SUV. And then once seated, well, as a small adult, I've got plenty of legroom. Now that driver's seat is in my driving position, but if you had a taller driver and a taller passenger here in the back, then I think legroom would get quite tight. It doesn't feel the most spacious of these small SUVs, but there is good headroom. They've carved out quite a bit of space there in that roof because of those boxy proportions. The middle seat is quite small, and there is a small transmission tunnel here, so it's not going to be really very comfortable for a middle seat passenger. It's probably more suited back here for 2 rather than 3. Now there is one USB-C port, there are pockets in the back of those seats, There's a small little bit of storage here in the doors, but really there's not much back here. And there's no centre armrest, but then you wouldn't really expect that from the small SUV class. But generally I do feel comfortable back here, but it's probably more suited to children really rather than adults. But of course you can carry adults back here from time to time. The Avenger gets a very cool and contemporary cabin, so it's quite a minimalist design, and you get a full digital driver display as standard, and also this 10-inch touchscreen, and that comes with Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, there's over-the-air updates, and it also responds to commands of Hey Jeep. There are also physical buttons here for the ventilation, button here for the volume, so that's really useful. It makes it very easy to adjust things like temperature and the fan speed while you're driving. There's also shortcut buttons here underneath the screen to bring you back to the home menu, and one for the car's settings as well. Now, with this new design, Jeep has freed up a lot of space. There's loads of storage in this car. There's a huge amount of storage down here and here as well, and under the armrest. And you've got these buttons here to select your drive mode as well, compared to, let's say, a traditional gear selector. When it comes to the fit and finish, it does feel very well built, but there is quite a lot of hard plastic there in the dashboard and also in the doors. So consider this as a mid-range altitude model. It retails for about €40,000. So for that price, I would like to see a few more plusher materials used here in the cabin. This altitude model also gets this silver panel here in the dashboard and some silver accents here on the steering wheel. So that does go some way to brighten up the cabin. And if you go for the top of the range Summit model, that's body coloured. So for example, if you got a yellow Avenger, that would be finished in yellow. So that does make it more fun and bright here in the cabin. These seats are vinyl and fabric, and they're embossed with the Jeep logo, which is quite nice as well. Standard equipment includes keyless start, there's automatic air conditioning, and there's also cruise control. The altitude model adds wireless smartphone charging, and there's also a reversing camera. But if you want heated seats, you have to go for the top of the range Summit model. In some European markets, you can get the Avenger with a petrol engine, but here in Ireland, it's just going to be the electric for now, at least. So this Avenger marks, of course, the continuation of Jeep's electrification journey that started with hybrid versions of the Renegade and the Compass. But this is their first full electric vehicle, so it is very significant. And of course, Jeep plans to go all electric in Europe by 2030. This uses a 54 kilowatt hour battery from the Stellantis group. That's a new battery that's being rolled out across Stellantis group cars, but this Avenger is one of the first to use it. So the range is up to about 400 kilometers, and there's a new, more efficient electric motor as well powering the front wheels. There's 156 horsepower sent to the front wheels, and 0 to 100 is about 9 seconds. So it's not the fastest electric car in the world, but I do think the performance is adequate for a compact crossover like this. There are a number of different driving modes. There's a normal mode, an eco mode that helps you get the most out of your battery range. There's also a sport mode that gives you a little bit of livelier acceleration. And then being a Jeep, it also has a mud, snow and sand mode as well to give you a little bit of extra traction on low grip surfaces. There's also a hill descent control, which is really something else to have in a small crossover like this. Jeep, of course, famous for tough off-road vehicles, so it's nice to see that they've given this Avenger a little bit of capability as well. There's a heat pump included as standard to improve the efficiency of the battery in cold weather, and there's also a B mode here that's easy to select from a button down here, and that increases the amount of regenerative braking. This is built on a platform that's shared with the likes of the Peugeot 2008 and also the Opel Mokka. But Jeep has done a little bit of tuning to make this a Jeep, and 60% of the parts are Jeep specific. They've also tuned the suspension to increase the damping force to make it more comfortable on and off road. There's a flat underbody to protect the battery and also to improve the aerodynamic efficiency of this Avenger. It is very nice to drive. That ride quality is really excellent. It's not too firm for an electric car. It covers the road really nicely. There's plenty of grip. The steering is light for town driving, but it does weight up out on bigger roads. The refinement is very good. There's not too much wind and road noise either. And when it comes to efficiency, very impressed with this Jeep Avenger. So at the moment I'm averaging about 13.3 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers, which is really excellent. Granted, I am doing a lot of suburban driving, but I've spent a little bit of time on the motorway as well, so that's very good. And Jeep quotes an average of about 15.4 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. So though that 54 kilowatt hour battery doesn't seem that big for a new electric car coming to market in 2023, it is efficient. So there's plenty of driving between charges. And when it does come to charging, there's DC fast charging up to 100 kilowatt. So you can get to an 80% battery charge in less than half an hour. And AC charging is possible up to about 11 kilowatt. So you could get a full charge in about 5 hours or in about 7 hours from a 7 kilowatt wall box. So that brings me to the indicator noise, because it's a little quirk with this car. It's a compact car, it's really nice to drive around town, but the indicator sound, hope you can hear that, well, it's like a drum machine. So a little bit silly, but it is something that you get used to, but it is worth noting. But overall, it's a really fun little electric crossover to drive. It feels light, agile, smooth, good comfort, good refinement, and it's efficient as well. The Avenger is one of Jeep's best cars in years. It's really competitive now for that compact SUV class. It looks great and electric power really suits it. It's a very nice drive. Now the dinky dimensions means that it's not the biggest of these compact crossovers, but I think it is one of the coolest that you can buy right now. Remember, you can find more cars for sale on Carzone.ie, Ireland's trusted motoring marketplace. If you liked this video, please click the subscribe button to stay up to date with all our latest videos, and don't forget to give this video a like. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.